Welcome to Y-Stick. Your phone buzzes. You feel it before you even think about it. Your hand is already moving. You didn't decide to check it. Something older than decision-making just took over. And that something has been running your behavior for a lot longer than smartphones have existed. You probably think this is a willpower problem. It isn't. What's happening in your brain right now has almost nothing to do with the phone itself, and almost everything to do with a discovery made in a lab full of pigeons nearly a century ago. Strange place to start, right? But stay with it. In the 1930s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner was running experiments on animal behavior. He built a box. Inside the box was a lever. Press the lever, get a food pellet. Simple enough. But then Skinner did something that changed everything we understand about compulsion. He stopped rewarding every press. Instead, he made the reward random. Sometimes the pigeon pressed the lever and got food. Sometimes it pressed and got nothing. And here's the part that should unsettle you. The pigeons pressed the lever more, not less, when the reward became unpredictable. Why would uncertainty increase the behavior instead of killing it? Skinner called it a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. In plain English, it means the reward comes at random intervals, and randomness is the most addictive pattern a brain can encounter. A guaranteed reward teaches your brain what to expect. An uncertain one keeps your brain guessing. And a brain that's guessing is a brain that's hooked. Skinner tested this against every other reward pattern he could design. Fixed rewards, timed rewards, predictable rewards. None of them came close. Only randomness kept the pigeons pressing the lever thousands of times an hour, long after their stomachs were full. Now hold that idea. Because decades later, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz put monkeys in front of a screen and tracked their dopamine neurons while they waited for a juice reward. What he found reshaped how we think about pleasure itself. Dopamine wasn't firing when the monkey received the juice. It fired when the monkey didn't know if the juice was coming. The anticipation was the drug, not the reward. The not knowing, that single finding explains more about your phone than any tech article ever could. Every time you unlock your screen, you're not checking for a message. You're checking for the possibility of one. You don't know if there's a like, a text, a notification, or nothing at all. Your brain doesn't crave the content. It craves the uncertainty. It's Skinner's lever, rebuilt in glass and aluminum, sitting in your pocket, available to press infinite times a day. And someone built it that way on purpose. A researcher named Natasha Schul spent over a decade studying the design of Las Vegas slot machines before anyone thought to compare them to smartphones. She interviewed engineers who described their goal in blunt terms: keep the player in what they called the zone, a trance-like state where time disappears and the machine becomes an extension of the hand. Schul later pointed out something chilling. The exact same psychological architecture built into slot machines was quietly built into the apps on your phone: the pull-to-refresh gesture, the infinite scroll, the little red notification badge. None of it is neutral design. It's a lever dressed up as a feature. Think about that gesture for a second. Pull down, release, wait. It mimics a slot machine arm almost exactly. Engineers didn't stumble onto that shape by accident. Slot machine designers spent decades perfecting the psychology of that motion, the timing of that pause, the small flicker of animation before the result appears. App designers borrowed the blueprint, not the aesthetics, the mechanism. Your ancestors didn't have this problem, but they had something close to it. For most of human history, checking your environment for new information wasn't a bad habit. It was survival. A sound in the grass might be wind, or it might be a predator. Your brain evolved to reward the checking behavior itself, not just the outcome, because the animals who checked constantly stayed alive, and the animals who didn't often didn't get a second chance. That instinct never left. It just. You are running 4 million-year-old software on hardware that was never designed for infinite, random, always available stimulation. Your ancestors checked the grass a few times a day. You check your phone potentially hundreds of times. The behavior is identical. The frequency is what changed, and the frequency is what's breaking something. Here's where it gets more uncomfortable. Studies using EEG and fMRI scanning have shown that the anticipation of a notification activates the same neural pathway associated with unpredictable rewards in gambling research, the same pathway Schultz identified in those monkeys decades earlier. Your brain isn't malfunctioning when you feel that pull to check your phone. It's functioning exactly as designed, just aimed at the wrong target. The system built to keep you alive in tall grass is now being triggered by push notifications from a shopping app. So why can't you just stop? Because stopping isn't actually the hard part. Not checking is the hard part, and not checking runs directly against instincts that took millions of years to build. Willpower is a conscious, effortful process. The urge to check is not conscious at all. It fires before the thinking part of your brain even gets a vote. By the time you're aware you're reaching for your phone, your hand is often already moving. This is why phone addiction doesn't feel like other addictions. There's no substance entering your body. There's no single dramatic moment of use. It's just 1,000 tiny lever pulls a day, each one so small it barely registers, each one reinforcing the exact same unpredictable reward loop that kept Skinner's pigeons pressing long after the food stopped coming reliably. There's another layer to this, one that has nothing to do with dopamine and everything to do with belonging. For most of human history, you lived in a group of maybe 50 to 150 people. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies found that your survival depended almost entirely on your standing within that small group. Being excluded wasn't an inconvenience. It could be a death sentence. No group meant no shared food, no protection, no one to warn. So your brain built an extremely sensitive alarm system for social exclusion, one that still runs today, just with nothing meaningful left to monitor except a screen. That's why an unanswered text can feel disproportionately heavy. That's why a notification with no name attached to it can spike your heart rate before you even open it. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a missed message from a friend and a missed signal from your tribe that once meant survival. It reacts the same way either time. Every platform you use has, whether intentionally or not, tapped directly into that ancient alarm system. Likes function as a crude proxy for social approval. Follower counts function as a crude proxy for tribal standing. Comment sections function as a crude proxy for group discussion around a fire. None of it is real belonging. But your nervous system, running on 4 million-year-old code, can't always tell the difference, and it responds as if the stakes are just as high as they were on the savannah. Knowing this doesn't make the pull disappear, but it does something else. It removes the shame from it. You're not weak, you're not lacking discipline. You are a highly evolved pattern detection machine, reacting exactly the way pattern detection machines are supposed to react to unpredictable, high-stakes stimuli. The problem was never you. The problem is that the modern world figured out how to manufacture the exact conditions your brain is built to obsess over, and it did so at a scale your ancestors never had to face. Consider what a single day of checking looks like from the outside. Dozens, sometimes hundreds, of tiny, unpredictable reward loops, stacked one after another, each one small enough to seem harmless, each one wired into a survival circuit that has no concept of harmless. Multiply that by every day of your life, and you start to understand why simply deciding to use your phone less rarely works on its own. You're not negotiating with a habit. You're negotiating with a circuit that evolution spent millions of years perfecting for a completely different world. There's a strange kind of relief in that. Once you see the mechanism, you stop fighting your own nature and start working with it. You can't delete the instinct to check. It's older than language, older than tools, older than fire. But you can recognize the moment the lever gets pulled, and in that half-second of recognition, something your ancestors never had becomes available to you: a choice. The pigeons in Skinner's box never got that choice. They didn't know they were in a box. They didn't know the lever was designed to keep them pressing. You do know. And that single piece of awareness is the one advantage you have that no amount of clever app design can fully erase. Your phone buzzes, and this time, you notice your hand moving before you let it. If you want to keep understanding yourself, subscribe. And if you watched this far, what do you want to understand next?